Hello, I'm Kat, and welcome to today's video. So once again, the portal is alight with the lovely golden hue, meaning it is somewhat, once again, time to pull some shards. We are, of course, in the midst of the Cowardly Lion fusion, and we've come to the first of two summoning events, the Champion Chase. So that, of course, is going to be our reason for pulling. Now, if we dive into the Champion Chase itself, it is actually fairly generous, and I'll talk about exactly how I plan to tackle this, given the relatively speaking generous offer. So we have three different milestones here, which we already knew from the publishing of the calendar. We knew there was going to be 3 nodes of 25. One is the bare minimum that you would need. If you do every single event at the min-maxing, so to speak, then all you would need to do is get to 1800, which is pretty substantial. But you have the opportunity to get up to 50 bonus fragments for the epic. So 3500 is the second node and 5500 is the third node. So in this particular instance, just because I'm trying to combine a bunch of different strategies together, I want to pull some shards because I am fresh off of Mercy for Sacred, so it's a good time for me to be pulling Sacreds in general, just because I could get lucky. In worst case, we pull a handful of Sacreds and then nothing happens, and then we build up Mercy towards the next or future POGO event. But I also don't really want to go all the way out to 3500 with the Sacreds alone, because that just doesn't really feel worth it. So we're going to use some other sources of points in order to get all the way up to 3500, but that is going to be our target for the day. So essentially, I'm aiming for a little bit of flexibility when it comes to this particular fusion, because I do like the champion. I do want to make sure that we get him, but it's either I can skip like the last Dungeon Divers event or Gear Hunters event, or I could just skip the entirety of the Summon Rush, whichever one I so choose. But regardless, we're going to go out here to the 3500. I'm not going to spend the time to try and explain all the different possibilities or what's about to happen in the next few minutes or so, just because it depends on the RNG. But basically, Sacreds are going to get us, and some other things are going to get us to the 1800 points, and then Remnant Summons are going to get us the rest of the way to 3500. However, there is one caveat there, that the 1800 node will be the 4th epic that we've collected thus far for the fusion. Therefore, we are also going to fuse one of the fusion epics to get some points after we get to the 1800. So let's start with part 1, so to speak, popping into the portal. So first off, I do have one Relic Keeper saved up just for this very moment. I do like to use my Relic Keepers and Broadmaws during 2x Sacred, specifically during fusions in most cases. So we will summon him. That is a free 250 points straight out of the gate. I do also have my Prism Shard from the Lizardmen only summon pool. And hopefully we can get our Legat Teox. No, of course, we get another epic. All good. But Quargon the Crown, not too excited about that, but nonetheless, another 250 points. Excellent. So we're sitting at 500 and some change in the Champion Chase. So with that out of the way, we can hop over to the shard aspect of the day, starting off with the overall shard count on my account at the moment. 587 on the Ancients, 238 on the Voids, 53 on the Prowls, and then 52 on the Sacred, which of course we'll be diving into today. So another reason why I did want to pull some shards is just because there is a 10x going on right now for Tin Woodman, who is of course part of the Echoes of Oz event. So if I happen to get him, well, if I happen to get a legendary and the legendary happens to be him, granted that's like a 5% chance of that happening if we get a legendary at all, but you never know, crazier things have happened. If we get him early, then cool, then we save shards in the future towards chasing him, or shards or soulstones, depending upon how they're going to offer him, as presumably in a guaranteed event. We could save some resources by getting him early, but regardless, we're pulling in general just to get the fusion fragments, and that is the most important thing. So essentially from where we are, we're going to be pulling between 4 and 6 Sacreds depending upon our luck. 6 Sacreds worst case, and somewhere in the middle will probably be like 5. So let's see what we can get from our summons here, starting it off with an epic Dudan the Runic. Sweet. Awesome champion. This will be a duplicate for empowerment on my account, and yeah, good for taunt, good for cleansing on the A1, and then a shield on the A2 that can extend the duration of buffs granted on a 4-turn cooldown. I mentioned my Mercy at the start. Like I said, I'm fresh off of a Pogo, so I'm not going to pop it up on the screen, but essentially we are at 0. So the odds of us getting legendary are just at the mercy of the base rates plus the 2x rates at the moment. Negorio, awesome, another epic. He's a decent DPS from the Shadowkin faction. I think he is, no, he's mostly single target, but he does have an AoE. I've heard his multipliers are pretty high, so I've never built it myself, but decent for like Faction Wars, Curse City style of stuff. Another epic, okay. Okay, this is Hilda Arnorn daughter. I think this is the one with the AoE stun. Yes, AoE stun, good, another good faction wars champion, but more on the CC side of the house. AoE chance, 60% chance of stunning, also increased attack for herself, which is pretty nice. So she could be a little bit of a nuker, a little bit of CC. Cool. Next, Sacred number 4. Let's see what else we can get. Another epic. Okay, as expected. This is Fodbor the Bard, AoE decreased defense, so he's kind of your debuffer. Once again, faction wars, Cure City type champion, granted on a 4-turn cooldown, but 100% chance when he can, and then also a stun on the A2. Next up, Sacred number 5. So if we get a legendary here, no. Okay, if had we gotten one, we could have stopped. But after 5, we are not quite exactly where we need to be, and that is AOK Ox. So remember, poisons on the A1, although really, really low chance. Decent heal here, depending upon the debuffs, and decent turn meters, control / debuffing capabilities. But the main thing is his passive that can extend debuffs. He had a little bit of a moment to shine with his duo with Geo and the Iron Twins. Last Sacred for the day is another epic, as expected, and it is Virtus. Old school champion as far as dealing with Scarab King if you run him in Destroy set, but that's a really outdated approach and it takes forever, like 40 to 30 to 50 minutes, which is kind of crazy. But he is one of the tankier epics that can be difficult to kill if you don't exactly know what to do. So that should do it. 6 Sacreds was our hard cap, and that should have gotten us, alongside everything else we've gotten thus far, to around 2,000-ish points. So we should have the last epic here, or the first of the epic nodes rather. So yeah, we started at 200 points, 216 I guess. Everything we've done so far gets us to 2,000, and that was the worst possible case scenario, i.e. everything was an epic, which is of course that's what we budgeted for, hence the target of up to 6 Sacreds for this exact possibility. So it was expected to a degree. So now we have the first 100 fragments, so we can go ahead and summon one of the Fusion Epics and go ahead and start champion training as soon as possible. So there we go. That's super fun. I don't really know what she does, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to sacrifice her for the Cowardly Lion. So we'll see if her kit is good sometime down the road and if I want to chase her from Void Shards in the future. So all right, now that puts us at 2250-ish, meaning at this point now we need up to 5 remnant summons to get us the last 1250 points to get us to the 3500. Obviously there's a little bit of wiggle room. You could say the 216 is close enough, and I could probably do the rest with mystery shards and whatnot. There is champion training going on, but I'm not really going to worry about that. We're just going to focus on the round numbers that we have at our disposal. So up to 5 remnants, and of course any and all void epics along the way will basically close that gap out and make it potentially 4 remnant summon. So let's see what we can get. Obviously mythicals would be crazy, but we're not really expecting a mythical here, but any void epics will be helpful. Adriel, not too exciting. A little bit of a heal, reflect damage, decrease attack, AoE. She's just kind of meh. That's the first one down. Second one, another epic, Thylesia, the accessible debuffer for the Knights Revenant. She has a AoE decreased defense, 100% chance without being booked, but unless you book it to get the 3-turn cooldown, but she can also extend that and other debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown on the AoE on the A2. Super fun champion. Remnant number 3, another epic, non-void. Okay, Melga Steel Girdle, another accessible champion, the Revive 2 champion for the faction, granted really low turn meter, really low HP, but a little bit of a shield to protect them. Also another shield here with some with some continuous heals. So decent champion, but ideally you upgrade from her as soon as possible because her Revive is, relatively speaking, underwhelming. Number 4 on the remnant summons. There is our Sylar, our Void Epic, which should get us exactly where we need to get, because that's a little bit of overshoot. We'll double check that in the champion chase really quickly, but extremely well known for the A3, a really solid opening ability for, it used to be more of a PvP move, but recently, for me at least, it was really useful in PvE, because you start off the wave, everyone has decreased speed, and you drop the turn meter by 40% on a 4-turn cooldown. Also AoE on the A1, AoE on the A2, so she's also great in a stun set, but yeah, the speed and faction crypts is what really came in handy in my particular situation. So let's double check and see if we've squeezed just into, yes, we have. So we got the next node in terms of the epic fragment, so we can start towards the next thing. And yeah, basically that is it. And perhaps we might have been there regardless whether or not we got a void epic there, but nonetheless. So 4 remnant summons, hence the up to 5. And yeah, we can call it a day there. So I've not actually been tracking my mercy when it comes to the remnant summons, but it has been a fair amount of time since the last mythical champion that I've gotten from them. But I could probably go back and look through all the videos if I really cared, but I don't. So yeah, at some point we probably are going to hit mercy on remnants and pull a mythical, but that time was not today. So there we go. There's our new red dot, the new champion. Attacks when enemy transfers all of these debuffs except CC debuffs. Okay, is she HP based? She is. I guess she's more of a tank. AoE weaken, heals her by some and heals the team. So some protecting, reflect any poisons and burns back. I don't know. Doesn't really sound that crazy to me. I'd have to really see her in action to know, but some sort of protection, healing going on there, transferring debuffs. Okay, not really blowing me away, unfortunately. So that's okay. Basically, the highlight of the day is just a bunch of epics, including the Fusion Epic. So there you go. That is going to do it for today's shard pulls, as well as alter your point methods, rather, of getting points in the champion chase. Let me know in the comment section down below if you were also pulling some shards or acquiring points in some other fashion towards the sake of the fusion fragments from the champion chase. And of course, let me know if you got anything good from said summons. As always, if you did enjoy this video, then be sure to hit the like button down below. It really does help out the channel, and feel free to hit the subscribe button down below as well, if and only if you're enjoying the content overall on the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.